This is Tri-County Live, presented by Davenport Auto Park, bringing you the best from Nash, Wilson, and Edgecombe counties. Now let's join our host in the studio.
And good evening, everyone, and welcome into a very special edition of Tri-County Live. It's the 2014 Look Ahead. We've got a great show for you today. We're going to talk about some predictions, and I have joining me today, this evening, we have Sandra Smith, Clint Williams, and Tim Taylor, and we are going to get into some topics here, local, national, and sort of give the viewers maybe what they might be expecting this year.
And then the best part is at the end of the year, we're going to take a look back at these and see how badly we did.
But the operative word tonight is predictions.
Exactly.
These are predictions.
Right.
Now, we're not
Wait,
saying
oh,
they're
you said predictions?
definitely going to happen. We hope they are.
Oh.
We predict. We want to look good.
Well, y'all have predictions, but what I say is not predictions.
Oh, gosh.
It's
What are yours?
His is the absolute gospel.
Oh,
what he's
it
saying.
is.
facts.
Okay.
He knows what he's talking about.
Okay.
But we want to talk about some local issues, some local things in the Tri-County region, Nash, Edgecombe, and Wilson counties. And we also want to talk about some national things.
And some fun, trendy type things,
Yeah.
social.
Right.
You know, we'll have a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
And the views tonight are not those of WHIG. They are those of Tim Taylor, Clint Williams, Andrew Breedlove, and Sandra Smith.
Mine are mine, but mine are right.
We're here to have fun tonight and just kind of, as they said, give you our
Yeah.
predictions. So.
Well, let's get started. Let's start with, what do you want to start with, local or national?
Let's have a little national, a little
Okay.
lifestyle.
All
All right,
national,
let's start with
okay.
national. Clint, why don't you start us off?
Well, again, a little bit of light one. I've said this one on one of the morning shows recently, but I believe that Miley Cyrus will continue to be Madonna 2.0. She will continue to try to shock us, and all the parents will continue to ignore her, and all the kids will emulate her, and we'll get more scared about it in about 10 years when we see the results.
Quick, how many albums does she sell?
She'll probably sell, her current albums have been out, but I bet she'll sell another 2 million
Oh, yeah.
easily.
Okay.
She'll go platinum.
So some more twerking to be expected.
We will be twerked.
We will be twerked till we can't stand it
Will
anymore.
will Miley Cyrus keep her tongue in her mouth this year?
No.
No. That's her
Okay.
thing.
But I will predict that she lets her hair grow back out.
She's already doing that.
Yeah. But
Hopefully
but I don't. I still predict that her clothing will get thinner,
so. Okay.
even thinner,
You mean skimpier.
thinner.
Okay.
All right, Sandra, what can we look forward to on a national scale?
Well, I think Obama may get severely criticized again about Obamacare.
Okay.
It will just keep on and on and on.
Right.
Because in 2015, we're all going to realize, especially the middle class, 50,000 and above, we're going to realize some big time things. We really are. It's going to be bad for the middle
Well,
class.
when
So
the
criticism will continue.
Yeah.
When the business
tremendously.
mandate kicks in,
Yeah.
there's going to be a lot more outcry.
And that's something
Absolutely.
we've talked at length about. You know, a big thing this past year was the implementation of the website and the individual mandate, which only affected 10, 15 million people,
Right.
which is still a lot of people. But you think about that in terms of all the premiums that went up for on the individual market happening when the employer mandate kicks in, when you have 80 to 120 million people directly affected by the law, when employers with 50 or more employees are legally required to carry health insurance.
Well, see, and this is in one of my big predictions, and so I predict there will be further delays in Obamacare, and nothing of any sort of controversial will kick in until after the elections. It's all going to get delayed till after the elections to make sure that the Democrats can get as many reelected
Sure it will.
back
Well,
into Congress.
I
Well,
totally agree on that.
speaking
Not
of
agree on
delays,
that, too.
if you look back at last year, the employer mandate that was delayed went into effect well before the website went out. Well, then you have the government shutdown, and a lot of it was over Obamacare.
Right.
And there was a lot of talk saying we need to get this passed. We need to make sure that this is states where it is. Let's not. What did you hear? Don't hold a gun to our heads and
Right.
negotiate.
Right.
Right.
Well, then that comes out. There's a big fiasco with the website. Millions of people lose their insurance. And then now, just a few weeks ago, part of the individual mandate was delayed. If you lost your insurance, you could qualify
keep it.
Right.
for a hardship tax.
Right.
So where's the equality when it comes to this law? This is what this law is designed to do, is equalize one of the biggest industries in our country, and it's done nothing but actually create more division, and I think you're going to continue to see it.
Well, you've also had the Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor recently delayed part of the abortion ruling for, and it's directive, so it's not a blanket ruling, but it's an injunction against the religious sects who oppose abortion. The healthcare law required them to
Right.
pay for it. Even if they opposed it, they could opt out, but their insurance carrier had to carry it. Now the Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor has said that is possibly unconstitutional and has given them an injunction against it,
Yeah.
which means it will be elevated to the Supreme Court and will be adjudicated there. She also did something not related to that, but she did something related to what was it? I just lost it.
There was birth control.
Birth control.
Yes, it
Yeah,
was
birth
as
control.
well.
Yeah. So that one's going back down to the lower court now.
Yeah, and again, we've talked about it at length, but with such a law that's so big, to have this many issues and to continue to be debating it when it's law
Yep.
really shows that we're just going to continue to see problems as we move forward.
I just really never see it being implemented. Like you said, it's going to be 2015 before you know it's going to be 2016. He's going to be out of office, and somebody else is going to be left holding the bag.
That's why I think they're going to delay it this year.
That's right.
Because of the elections.
Yeah. Well, speaking of out of office, we have some midterm elections coming up. Does anybody have any types of political predictions?
My
I
bold
do
prediction.
this local,
Well,
but you go ahead.
Well, my bold national, this was my big bold prediction. My big bold prediction for 2014 is the Democrats get control of the House.
Okay.
And so they will have all three. Now, everybody's kind of saying, well, Republicans are due for a big year because
Right.
2010 was a big year. There are machinations going on, including the delays, things that happen behind the scenes. I mean, Romney was not supposed to lose, at least not as bad as he lost. The ground and pound that the Democratic Party put in, it worked.
Yep.
You think they're going to give up on that?
No.
Well, you look at some of the strategies. The word of the year, I think, the most hated word was sequestration.
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And you look at, from a national perspective, you look at all the different things that happened. The Republicans seemingly lost a lot of battles in the public sphere, even on things that there really was not a whole lot of ground to be gained or lost. They ended up losing that public battle.
Well, even
So-
Boehner came out and called the Tea Partiers, crazy. I
Yeah.
mean, when
Oh, yes.
your former quote captain calls you out, that doesn't help the party.
Yeah.
You've
Well,
got
not that
divisions
I-
within it.
Not that I want this to happen by any means, because I really, really like her. But Congresswoman Renee Elmers, I do not think will win her primary. I do not think she will make it because of the people she's made mad.
Well, there are two Tea Party candidates in the Republican primary that are going against her who have a decent shot, and then she will be, or whoever wins the primary will be facing Clay Aiken.
Clay Aiken. Did you hear that?
Imagine that.
Clay Aiken.
Possibly.
Clay
Now, he's going to win his
Possibly.
primary,
They
but,
said he's got to win his
but
primary.
he's got the celebrity name to
Right.
carry.
Now, I heard when
So they said he's considering throwing his hat in the ring.
I heard that when you go to if you're a Democrat voting in that primary, you actually have to sing his name if you're voting for him.
Okay.
Funny, funny, funny.
Time to get to
anyway.
a break so we can bop the boy on
But
the head.
but yeah, I think that's going to be a big thing.
I don't know.
and
This Clay might show up now.
you never know. A big thing that happened in North Carolina that could even hurt Renee Elmers is there was a big shakeup. One of the biggest shakeups in state government that we've ever had.
Right.
A completely controlled Republican government.
Yeah.
And we've seen just this year alone, we've already seen a big change in the tax code. And, whatever the results of that, we have yet to see. But we've already seen there's a lot of people and reports saying that North Carolina is already starting to draw the attention of businesses from around the country and around the world. So I think it'll be interesting to see where the state goes as this new sort of business climate continues to grow. It just depends, I think, then you go back to a national level. are we expecting maybe another financial meltdown like we had a few years ago? Things have slowly been getting better, but
Yeah, they are slowly getting better.
there's talk that there could be another bubble that burst.
Right.
Well, and there's also the potential for shakeup in the General Assembly because McCrory didn't agree with everything that went on. There were 2 vetoes that were overridden that he didn't agree with. Some could say that was for posturing. Some could say he truly didn't agree. McCrory is a little more moderate than the folks who are in control of the House and the General Assembly now, but I don't expect that to go away. I expect him to keep his opinions to himself, or not to himself, but keep his opinions publicized and maybe having a little bit of conflict. It won't be a kumbaya.
I think it's clear with the new governor, that he clearly has his ideas of what he wants to do.
Right.
And Democrat or Republican, if they don't agree, he doesn't change his mind.
He's
a whole
even
lot.
said
I
that.
like that.
Well,
I
he said
really
that.
like that.
He said, I've made
He
friends
knows.
and enemies on either side of the aisle.
Exactly. And I think he knows, as Andrew said,
Right.
he knows what he wants. And that, to me, that's a good thing. Whether we think it's good or
That's
bad, at least he knows what
He's
he
taking a
wants.
stand.
Well,
He's taking
and
a
the
stand.
Moral Mondays will be coming back. And
Right.
right in time for election year, and
I've heard that.
NAACP
They may
is
be.
going to make their stake. So we're going to see more protests against what the General
Oh,
Assembly's
sure.
been doing.
Sure
Of course
we are.
they are. Because they don't agree with it.
Well, what else? Are there some more things we can look at from a national perspective?
Well, this is, again, a lifestyle kind of
Okay.
thing, changing gears a little bit. For those of you out there who have any ladies in your life, and Tim and I are talking about this beforehand, and he doesn't have any young girls in his household, but he does have ladies in his life. But Chevron has been the it thing for a couple of years now, and fashion is one of those things that comes to the South last. It's in New York or California, 2 years before it ever gets to the South. I mean, HBO was in the rest of the country 10 years before it ever got to Rocky Mount. But Chevron is out, and stripes are in. That's my
No,
prediction.
no. I don't like stripes. Yuck.
Stripes are the new Chevron.
Yeah.
And,
Stripes are yucky.
Horizontal stripes make
Yes.
you look like a bumblebee.
I
Well,
don't
no,
agree with
it'll
you.
be big bold stripes,
No.
actually. Big bold stripes are
I don't
the new
agree with you
Chevron.
on that.
You were wearing Chevron today.
I love the chevron.
And you don't
but
want
not
it to
the
go
stripes.
away. You don't want
No.
Chevron to go away.
I love the chevron.
Okay.
So all you girls who got monogram chevrons for Christmas, you're just about out of style already.
But the black,
Don't say
the
that.
little
We're
black
not.
dress will never go away.
No.
Right.
That's my prediction.
Or
You're
red dress.
exactly right about that. The
That's
black
my
dress will
prediction.
always be in.
So,
Well, between May and November, I think the stock market will fall 20%.
20%?
20%.
That's a big drop.
It's a big drop.
We'll see.
Well, we've
Well,
heard,
yeah.
like we were just talking about from the financial perspective, things have slowly been getting better. But when you look at the employment and the unemployment numbers, a lot of the jobs that have been created over the past couple of years have not been the career type jobs that you want. It's been the part-time jobs that are temporary jobs. They're not the types of jobs that allow people to go buy new houses. They're not the types of jobs that allow people to
Service
put their kids
sector,
through college.
part-time,
Exactly.
that type of thing.
And eventually, that's going to catch up, I really think. And, we've seen a change in the employment numbers, but it's been pretty much percentage-wise in line with the number of people that are exiting the workforce. And when you look at the number of people that are getting jobs, number of people leaving
We
the
can
workforce.
talk forever
level
about
out.
job numbers
Yeah.
because the people who aren't even looking for jobs, who aren't even being measured, are twice as large as the people who are, quote, unemployed. And so the numbers and the way we measure unemployment in this country are not apples to apples to how they used to be measured.
Yep.
So that alone is just an economical hodgepodge. I don't know, in my opinion, I don't know there'll be 20%. I do think the stock market is ripe for a correction. There have been a lot of overly positive profit numbers that people have been. Twitter is a good example. Twitter went public. They skyrocketed. It was a love me now type of
Right.
stock. It's now started to correct,
Yeah.
and as it corrects, people fall in line.
Yeah.
Trends happen in the stock market and financial world, and as one falls, others fall. I mean, we had 3 days in a row to start the year where the stock market went down 100 plus points every single day. So there's room for it.
Yeah. Well, I have one political prediction to make. And that is that Hillary Clinton will officially announce that she will be running for president in 2016.
I totally agree with you on that.
I don't think it'll
Yes,
happen this year. I
yes.
think it'll happen in 2015.
I think you're going to see towards the end of the year, I think you're going to see some of the signs in place. And I think she'll subtly announce.
See,
end of this
my
year?
prediction is Michelle will announce that she's running for president.
That's really funny.
Okay.
You know, she's a lawyer.
No, she gave her license up.
Well, but she has passed the bar. She was a practicing
She's a
lawyer.
politician, Clay.
She is a, yeah.
Well, we've talked some national things. I think it's a good time for us to take a break.
It is.
And then transition into some of our local events that we see forthcoming for our area. There's some great things that we can look forward to, but some things we want to make our viewers aware of as well. So what we're going to do is take a quick break and keep it tuned in here to the Tri-County Live presented by Davenport Auto Park. We'll be right back after this. So we...
Life is about making memories. From our family to yours, Bailey's Fine Jewelry will help you mark all those special occasions with a gift that will last forever.
From pearls to diamonds, Bailey's guarantees you will have the best jewelry experience possible. Our jewelry designers are here to assist you with all your custom design work. We work with you to ensure your complete satisfaction.
For any occasion, Bailey's is sure to have that special gift for that someone special. Nothing shows you care more than a Bailey box.
Life's full of unforgettable moments. Spend a moment in your Pandora store and experience the new collections.
Davenport is still working to make room for the construction of our new GM building. That means the construction clearance continues on all kinds of Buicks and GMCs. Drive a 2014 Buick or GMC for just $229 per month, or save up to $10,000 on remaining 2013s and service loaners. Great deals on Buicks and GMCs are here during the Davenport construction sale, going on now.
It's the real deal.
Carolina Precision Firearms is the Twin Counties' ultimate gun shop. Rifles, shotguns, and handguns, suppressors, scopes, and ammunition. Our selection and quality is unmatched, and our expert craftsmen build customized products with state-of-the-art equipment to deliver the best firearms and suppressors on the market. Hone your skills and test out your firearms at our state-of-the-art indoor range, and get your concealed carry license through one of our classes offered throughout the year. Carolina Precision Firearms at 2725 North Church Street in Rocky Mount.
And welcome back into Tri-County Live, presented by Davenport Auto Park. They want to be your dealership for life. They're the real deal, so go see them at Davenport Auto Park. Getting right back into the show, Prediction Show 2014, right here, live on WHIG TV this evening. Let's talk some local stuff. There's a lot of things going
You
on.
want to do state? You want to do state?
We can get into some state stuff.
You just said state a while ago,
we can-
so I'm ready.
Yeah, let's go state.
Okay.
And then
Well, I'm
we'll go.
ready.
Well, we can work our way down.
Yeah, jump start.
All right, Tom Tillis will win the Republican primary.
He'll win the Republican primary, but I guarantee that the election
Okay, Hagan.
with Kay Hagan is going to be closely contested, because there's a lot of people that Tillis has ticked off that are Republicans because he's so far to the right,
Right.
And
that I don't
Yeah.
know people are going to get on board with him.
And I think
I'm
Kay
afraid
Hagan-
of that, and I think Kay Hagan's going to take advantage of that, and she's probably going to win.
I'll say it. Tom
Heaven
Tillis came
help, we
right
should
now
have her again.
2 years ago, when the Republicans took over the General
Right.
Assembly. Beth Perdue was still governor, and in the first 100 days, he gave an announcement of how much work they had gotten accomplished in the first 100
Correct.
days. I was highly impressed.
Oh,
highly impressed
He's a good-
with
he's a
his
businessman.
listening tours that he did. He didn't just stand and pontificate about himself. I was impressed. Even if you didn't like the guy, you had to
Right.
respect him for what he does.
But I'm
And
just
so-
talking about your average person. When they see that news blurb on TV,
Right.
they're like, oh, he's that eel guy that doesn't want to get along with anybody. He's going to really have to work on that.
Yeah,
They're
that,
going to
that,
have
that
to
yeah.
public image.
Because
Yeah.
he's
They're going to have to
he-
polish him up a
He's a
little bit.
businessman. He comes
Right, he's a
across as a
businessman.
CEO business
Right.
type. That
He's very stern. He's matter of fact. And come on, as much as I hate to say it, sometimes our political races are popularity contests.
They are.
But and Tim, I have to agree with you too. Kay Hagan,
I'm just afraid of that.
I think she's been relatively moderate. She's kept her head down, except when she's had to. She's come out recently. She's come out recently about Obamacare and said, you know, there's been some problems with it.
Oh, has she?
Yeah, she was one of
really-
6. She was one of 6 that came out at the end of December.
Okay.
Or actually end of November, and said, let's look at some possible delays or remedies.
Yes.
Okay,
She didn't
good.
say significant delays, but she did say, I believe we need to have remedies. But that's because she knows her seat is at risk. She is one of
Well, see,
6.
Senator Burr had already said that.
Right.
Yeah, he came out and said
Yeah.
it. Anyway.
And
She's Republican, and it wasn't because he was Republican.
Yeah, and I think to your point with Tom Tillis being so far to the right, Kay Hagan is not nearly as far to the left.
No.
She's closer to the middle of the road, so
Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
going to work to her advantage.
Right.
So.
I've got that feeling. That's my prediction there. Okay. Any other state things?
Well, I mean, we're going to have our 2-year election for all of our state, House, and
Right.
Senate as well. So, I mean, there's going to, Buck Newton and all those
Well, I
guys are
ran
back
into
up.
Jeff Collins tonight
Okay.
before I got here, and
Okay.
he said, I said, give me your biggest prediction. He said, I'm going to run again and I'm going to win. But he was joking. But,
maybe
I mean,
not.
maybe
Wait a
not.
minute, is he going to run though?
Well,
We don't
does say
know.
We don't know.
He hasn't officially filed, but that would be pretty.
Yeah, he was
comfortable in that
just
prediction.
I'm
giving me
thinking
a
he
little.
might.
But Buck Newton is also. I mean, all these guys are going to be up for re-election, and so it's time to see who's going to be up against them.
Mm-hmm.
I predict right now nothing will probably be a major shakeup. You'll see maybe a few districts that have some shakeups, but locally, I don't think we'll see any major shakeups. The only thing
Right.
that might happen, and even then I don't predict it, is Angela Bryant might have a race on her hands, but she will probably end up winning it.
Right. Okay.
Now, what about the congressional districts, though? You said Elmer's is up for re-election, correct?
Yes.
Holding will be up.
Holding will be up. So he's finishing out his first
term.
round.
Yeah.
Now, I'm in that new district.
And he will win again.
Are you in 13?
Yes.
You were in 13. How about you?
The
I'm
way
not
they
13.
redid
See,
it.
Rocky
yeah.
Mountain is very divided.
It's very,
It is.
Yeah.
There's 13.
You're probably in Butterfield.
Yeah.
There's 2, and I think there's 1, right? Or is there the third district?
2 is no longer around here.
Right.
2 got
2
moved
is-
to Raleigh.
2 got moved to the left. So there's 1, 3, and I guess 1, 3, and 13 now. But see, 13 reaches all the way up to Wake Forest. Though. If you look at it, it's like a big fish hook.
Well, if you go 1, it goes to Durham.
Right.
Butterfield is from Durham all the way over to like
And it-
Pasquotank.
Right, and it cuts down. So
Yeah.
they kind of, but Rocky Mountain is really divided.
It is.
And it, for a political standpoint, that's a disadvantage to us,
Oh yeah.
big time.
I agree.
We talked about it on our.
Well, even Buck Newton talked about when
Yeah.
his district was rewritten, he picked up Franklin.
Yeah.
And he had not had Franklin before, so when he had to run last time, he had to go. He didn't even spend as much time in Nash County or Wilson County. He had to go to Franklin because they didn't know anything about it.
Right.
So that's more work on the politicians who are currently running or the new guys who have to go in there.
I think Butterfield will win again. I think Jones will win again.
Yes.
Walter Jones.
Yeah, Walter B. Jones.
And I would say to that point, when it comes to your state representatives, the ones that are in Washington and all that, if you have an issue, let them know. Write
Oh,
them a
yeah,
letter, call them,
They
absolutely.
do want to hear.
email them.
I get responses now. I will
you'll
tell
get
you,
responses.
and this is not a prediction, but I've written Burr on some things that I don't necessarily agree with, some of the things that he has made a stand on, and he will respond. You may not like his response, but he does give you a response. Kay Hagan, I sent some things to her. There are some bills that have come out in the last couple of years. I didn't like what I was seeing. I sent over an email to her through the proper channels and got responses back. And sometimes they're canned letters, and sometimes they're actually semi-thought out. In other words, they recognize
Right.
your opposition, and they give you a thought-out response to it. So.
Right.
Well, we're talking about politics, and we've talked state politics. What about local politics?
Well, I think there's a lot of local things to talk about.
Well,
so
I know you
I
got
think we
one,
need to
but
go
I'm
ahead.
going to jump you on mine. But
Okay.
I'm not taking yours away. But,
No, don't take mine
We
away.
have a new incoming chairman of the Chamber of Commerce in Rocky Mount. And,
Right.
Reuben Blackwell is incoming, and he has run for mayor before. He has, in my opinion, been setting himself up for the last 3 years and going into this next year to make another run for mayor. And as the current 2014 chairman of the chamber, he will be in a very public position. He will be able to make his cases for what he has accomplished for Rocky Mount, and he will probably make a go for the mayorship of Rocky Mount.
I totally agree with that. Yes. And I think Lamont Wiggins, Councilman Lamont Wiggins, Judge Harper's seat is up in Edgecombe County. I think Councilman Lamont Wiggins will make a run for judge.
Very well put.
I really believe that. I think that's been in his heart for a long time.
Well, he's
So
been
I
a councilman for 10 years now.
Yes,
Going on 11, so he's been on longer. He has tenure for
Right.
the council now.
That's
And
right.
so typically that's kind of, you either go to that next political step or
Right.
you find the next career, and it looks like he may be going for that next career.
Yeah.
I think that will happen.
2 council people, possibly looking to upgrade, or not necessarily upgrade, but change political fields. So, and speaking of Mr. Wiggins possibly looking at a judge position, we've talked about it before. The judges are such an important part of our political system.
Oh,
And a lot of
absolutely.
times we talk about the representatives and or the president or the governor, but a lot of times we fail to see that it's our judges that really have that sort of day-to-day impact on a lot of the things that we see and do.
Oh, yes.
Well, if you
It's the
think about
judges.
it, the judicial system has the last word. The politicians create it, but the judicial system says, yes, this is a good thing, or no, it's not, based on
Right.
the lawsuits. So they are a critical part of our system. What the politicians have tried hard over the years to do is avoid the judicial system, because when you do have the last word, you can't counter it. So,
Well, another person that is running is Keith Stone. He's running for sheriff of Nash County,
Yes.
and I predict that he will win.
I do too.
I predict that's going to be a hard race. I think that will be probably the race of the year locally.
Now, who else is in the race?
I know Big Griff.
Big
is
Griff.
In it.
Stanley Griffin.
Stanley Griffin, and he is he's got experience, and he's a big guy. If you've never met him, he is a big guy. I think that will be a highly contested race. So, I honestly, in my
Well, I
opinion,
think with Keith Stone's experience, though, I mean, his experience in law enforcement. In law enforcement.
Well, Griff was in law enforcement, but it's been a long time ago, a very long time ago. He's been a bail bondsman now for much longer.
But there were some problems there.
Yeah. So.
There were some problems both times he was in law enforcement.
But as far as a political
so I
race
think we
goes-
have to look at that.
Yeah.
But
I think Keith will, in my opinion, I think Keith will win. I hope he wins, but I think it will be a hot race
Right.
in terms of what's going to be talked about, what's going to be in the paper, what the money and campaign.
right.
campaign
Well, if the
financing.
public goes for the experienced man, then I think it'll be Keith Stone. That's my prediction. But anyway.
Well, what about some other things? I know we've been talking about this recently, looking at the superintendent of Nash Rocky Mountain Schools. We recently had a little bit of a stir up, a little bit of a controversy
Right.
with
A
that.
dust-up, as they say.
Well, we know that he's looking a job, right?
Yeah,
I mean, we know that for a
Well,
fact.
he
We know he
was looking-
applied.
We don't know what he thinks, so we don't make.
We don't, but I mean, we
assumptions.
know he applied to the Richmond
But
school
that
system.
may
Is
have been
that
a
correct?
leverage position. That may have been him saying, I want a little more cash
Which
where I'm from.
which they say they sought him out.
Yes.
So that do want to make
could
that
be a
clear.
leverage position. At the same time, some things were brought to light about his background and about his likability and maybe even his qualifications. He does not have a proven track record because he hasn't been anywhere long enough to actually be measured on his performance necessarily. So either he's going to decide to dig in and make a history for himself here, or he's going to skip and jump to the next opportunity.
I think he will vacate the position in the next few months. That's my prediction.
The Durham job's available.
before the end of the school year?
Mm,
Or do you think
End
he's
of the
going to go
year.
through the school year, say June or July?
well, if it goes on his track record, who knows? Because he's done this twice before. He's left before the school year ended.
Well, now let's just say that Dr. Jackson finds another position and he goes to another school district, whatnot. The thing that he really brought to us that we always talk about is the iConnect initiative. Now, everybody has a difference of opinion on that, but
I'm biting my tongue.
is that something that we would see moving forward if a new superintendent was brought in? Is that something the school board would look in a new candidate? Is that something that's sustainable? Without, one of the reasons Dr. Jackson was brought here is they said, well, he introduced this into the other places
in
he's
Henry
been.
County in Virginia.
Right.
So,
Henry County
so
and
what's the
Virginia, correct.
what's the correlation? Is it something that we need somebody like him to keep that in place?
Well, there's two things there. He brought in the iConnect initiative. Obviously, the board agreed with it. Therefore, the board will continue with it whether he's here or not.
Well, haven't we invested so much money now that we can't really turn back if
Well, and
another
that's like
superintendent were to
Obamacare.
come in?
Once it's passed, you're kind of stuck with it.
Yeah,
But he
you
also
are.
just initiated his year capital plan where he wants to build new high schools, new add-on to existing structures, and he wants to spend millions of dollars. And the board is on.
And I hope we
on
can manufacture money in 2014.
Well, the board is
I
on board
predict
with
we
that.
can't. I predict we can't manufacture money for high schools in 2014.
Well, I go back to something that I heard a long time ago. John Kinchlow said this years ago. Construction does not equal instruction.
Correct.
You can build all the crates in the world you want. It doesn't make the students smarter.
That's right.
Yeah,
And-
you can build whatever walls you want, but it's not changing what's in what's
Within
in the
those
walls.
walls, correct.
And speaking of spending money, one of our hot topics lately has actually been something that we've been debating here, is the proposed downtown event center at a cost, estimated cost of $40 million, paid off over about 20 years.
Let's go around the horn and just say, yay or nay, is it going to pass?
Yay!
It's going
It's
to.
going to pass.
Now, are you saying?
Are you for it, or are you just
No,
saying it's
I'm
going to pass?
against it.
She's against
Okay,
it.
But
so
yes,
she's
it's going
predicting
to
it.
pass.
will it pass? Are you for it or against
Because
it?
we can't vote on
Okay,
it.
first of all, are you for
There's
it?
no referendum.
For or
I'm
against?
not for it.
Okay,
I'm
but-
against.
And then secondly,
Do you think it'll pass?
It will pass
think it'll
because there
pass?
will be no referendum.
Andrew?
I think it will pass because in my experience with the city council, it doesn't really matter what makes sense. They seem to do the opposite. And so I think it will pass, and I think it will be one of the worst decisions that our city will have ever made. When you look at the money and you talk about those new schools, that's a lot of money.
yeah.
A lot of money.
I will predict that it will pass as well because there is no referendum. The citizens don't get a vote. The council has already
That's right.
made their bets internally. It's just a matter of going through the motions. I agree with Andrew 100%. I think it's a boondoggle. I think it will drag this city down economically. And one of my big predictions is, in addition to the event center is one of the catalysts. But in the next few years, you're going to see significant tax and fee and expense issues with the city and the citizens, and you will see a much greater exodus out of the city of Rocky Mount into Red Oak, into Nashville, into the surrounding communities,
Oh, yeah.
so that they don't have to live here and they don't have to pay the city taxes.
Government waste equals increased taxes, increased fees.
Right.
You've seen it multiple times. I mean, throughout the history of any government, really, when there are problems internally, when there's a lot of waste, they're losing a lot of money. We've already seen it with the Imperial Center, with the sports complex, with a lot of these other things that have been added to our city. And so we're going to waste more money. And, you know, we've talked about it. The problem with that waste is that the people making those decisions, they don't understand what that waste is causing.
No.
So they fail to look at the opportunity around them. I mean, we've talked about it before. I'm against an event center, totally. But you have a place like the Home Depot that could be utilized. It already has the space, already has the
Right.
infrastructure. You could turn that into a showcase.
They've already said it's not
an
big enough.
expo center.
So it's not big enough?
We've talked about it before, the spot on North Church Street, the old Hardee's headquarters near the
Right.
sports complex, highway access. But they're not looking at these things
No,
because
because they're
government,
not downtown.
it's all about waste. And that's why
Oh,
when you
but
see-
in their minds, they're not thinking waste. In their mind, they're thinking it will revitalize downtown. It'll bring new construction, a shiny new something to a place that's dark and needs help and needs it's an impoverished area of town.
Yeah.
The problem with downtown is, and if you think of Main Street as the main area of downtown, is not something the city by themselves can fix. And putting a building down there that will not have an anchor tenant. I've been harping on this the whole time. Any major facility like that has an anchor tenant. PNC Center has State and Hurricanes. You got two
Right.
major anchor tenants. This will not have an anchor tenant. And yet they predict that it's going to lose $3.3 million a year. I
PNC
just don't
Center is
have the-
still not filled up.
I don't understand
Even
the
with a
sensibility
tenant.
of it.
Even with a
Right.
tenant.
And you look at you look at the size of it. It's not even big enough to compete with the PNCs or even the Crown Coliseums in Fayetteville. So it's going.
That's been a bust for Fayetteville.
It's been a bust.
But let me vote. It'll pass.
It'll pass.
Yeah.
But anyway,
Sorry about that. No,
You look at the Roanoke Rapids Theater. That's the example everybody keeps
that
bringing.
is what everyone should look to, because what happened is government tried to get into business, and what happened to them? They got burned badly, and they're now. I mean, I know folks from Halifax County. They're still bitter about it, and they're still paying taxes
Oh, they will for a
But
long
they
time.
say that
on someone
you
that.
can't.
But see, someone has bought the facility now, but who cares? They're stuck with the tax burden.
Yep, they're still paying for
But
They're
they're
still
saying
paying
you
for
can't
it.
compare the two. It's what
They're not
the
the same.
city
How?
manager
How
said.
can't
You
they?
can't compare.
Is that apples to oranges?
That's
It's
what
not.
he's saying. It's not compared to this building.
It's an event
Well, he's an
center.
idiot.
I mean,
It
you can't
is.
play basketball in there,
Exactly.
but it's still an events center. I mean, can we not even fill up a Dunn Center?
They say
That's-
114 events will be held in that center a year.
That's impossible.
with an
You only have 52
with an
weeks in a
annual
That's the
year.
minimum.
with
but
an annual attendance of
Yeah.
280,000 people.
Yeah.
we don't have to.
Where are they going to draw from?
And that's
Who's
the
going to pay
thing.
$50 a ticket?
You're also hurting your places like your gateways and your Dunn centers.
Right.
You're hurt.
They say they're not.
Kaheen Auditorium. You're hurting these places
Right.
because let's face it, with 5,000 seats, you have to have a certain number that you get to. The Dunn Center has 1,200. Kaheen has
800.
800. They're able to accommodate a lot of those events that you would rather have those sell out than to have a half-empty arena.
Well, see, I even suggested going to the what is now the Rocky Mountain Middle School. That's a fine auditorium right
It's
now.
1,000 seats.
The seats are a little
It's,
too
it's
small.
almost 1,000.
Yeah.
It's what
Borderline.
You know,
980,
it's
something
it's
like
going
that.
to say 1,000 seats.
Yeah.
Let's see if we can sell that out with some events. If so, and that's in a what downtown area. If that clicks, throw the money at it all you want. But like you said, you said 40 million because the low side was 37, the high side was 45. Do you know any government project that ever came under budget? Ever?
Well, I want to throw this out there as
Right.
well.
Ever?
This is the first time we've aired this publicly. Off the record, we've spoken to folks in Wilson, and one of the things that was mentioned in this was that if Rocky Mountain doesn't do it, Wilson will.
Yes.
Somebody will
That's
beat us to the
what
punch.
that's what they said
That's what
at
the
the
ACOM
Rocky
folks,
Mount.
Yeah,
That's their sale
right.
to the Rocky Mount public.
You know, I haven't really
You're talking
heard
about
many
the,
people in
uh,
Wilson talking about it.
Well, we
It's company-
asked
but
somebody.
listen to what Clint's
We asked
saying.
somebody off the record. They won't give us their name because it's an official person with the city.
Right.
But they, and I'm not going to say he or she, they made a clear statement. Are you crazy?
Did they laugh?
They
said-
they did like are you, because they have Greenlight and other infrastructures that they're invested in. They're not going to take on another major
No,
investment
they said,
of
no,
this level,
you crazy? We don't want it.
and they don't want anything to do with it.
No.
And the first thing that they said was, "You mean like Roanoke Rapids?"
Exactly.
See,
there you go.
everyone else
Yeah.
can see that.
Yeah.
Maybe they're blind. Well, I guess it's a Field of Dreams thing. Let's build it.
Right.
We're going to fill
Well,
it.
There's
well,
going to be a lot of
The
disappearing things though on that
actual,
building.
the guy that made the presentation from Texas actually had the nerve to stand up in front of us at the meeting of the whole and say, build it and they will come.
He also said that
I
there were
could
no
not
red
believe
flags.
he
I love that
said
one.
that.
I was getting ready to
There
say,
were
you
no
took
red
it right out of my
flags.
mouth. We see no red flags here. And I said,
He
"Why?"
must be colorblind.
All right, we have beat this horse. Let's move on to
Okay,
another
what's the
topic.
next one?
Wait,
Let's
we got-
talk
we gotta
about
take a break.
Wesleyan.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
it's,
Take a break.
well, I've got
we
some more
come
local
back-
stuff.
Let's talk about
Let's talk
Wesleyan.
about Wesleyan when we come back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll be right back on Tri-County Live presented by Davenport Auto Park. Stay with us.
Life is about making memories. From our family to yours, Bailey's Fine Jewelry will help you mark all those special occasions with a gift that will last forever.
From pearls to diamonds, Bailey's guarantees you will have the best jewelry experience possible. Our jewelry designers are here to assist you with all your custom design work. We work with you to ensure your complete satisfaction.
For any occasion, Bailey's is sure to have that special gift for that someone special. Nothing shows you care more than a Bailey box.
Life's full of unforgettable moments. Spend a moment in your Pandora store and experience the new collections.
Davenport is still working to make room for the construction of our new GM building. That means the construction clearance continues on all kinds of Buicks and GMCs. Drive a 2014 Buick or GMC for just $229 per month, or save up to $10,000 on remaining 2013s and service loaners. Great deals on Buicks and GMCs are here during the Davenport Construction Sale, going on now.
It's the real deal.
Carolina Precision Firearms is the Twin Counties' ultimate gun shop. Rifles, shotguns, and handguns, suppressors, scopes, and ammunition. Our selection and quality is unmatched, and our expert craftsmen build customized products with state-of-the-art equipment to deliver the best firearms and suppressors on the market. Hone your skills and test out your firearms at our state-of-the-art indoor range, and get your concealed carry license through one of our classes offered throughout the year. Carolina Precision Firearms at 2725 North Church Street in Rocky Mount.
And we're back on Tri-County Live, presented by Davenport Auto Park. They want to be your dealership for life. Go see them. Honda, GMC, Buick, and they're the real deal. So go see them at Davenport Auto Park. All right, right back into the show. Some more local predictions. You said you wanted to talk a little bit about Westland.
Yeah, let's talk about Westland. They
little
have
bit
a
of
brand
change.
new president, Dewey Clark. He came on Tri-County Live not long ago, 3 weeks ago, I believe it was. What do you think about that? What do you predict, Clint?
This
It's
is
been a
one
long
of
time.
my written predictions, and most of what I'm saying I wrote down before the end of the year, so I'm kind of standing by what I wrote ahead of time. I predict North Carolina Wesleyan commits to becoming a university with aggressive growth plans. I think Dewey Clark is going to come in. He's going to bring in some executive teammates, maybe from MBM, former Wesleyan graduates who have a long-term plan and a strategy for where Wesleyan can go. And they're gonna take advantage of our community, and the community should take advantage of them. But I think their plans are to turn into a university system.
I think so.
Which means they'll have campus growth, which means they'll have student body growth, those types of things that will help our community.
Secondary degrees.
Secondary degrees.
Absolutely.
You look at, there's obviously with the Gateway Technology Center,
already
there's
got
a
it
lot
in
of
place.
options there. But you could add, if you could get an MBA from Westland.
And this is a long-term plan. It's not going
Right.
to happen
Yeah,
in
it's not gonna
2014.
happen.
But
No,
I think
overnight,
they're going
no.
to go
You
for
can
it in
see it at
2014.
being
Well, they have
initiated.
several satellite campuses already.
Yeah.
And the great thing about Westland is that there's a lot of room to expand.
Right.
And I think when
Right.
Mr. Clark was on, or Dr. Clark
Dr.
was
Clark,
on the
yeah.
show with us, he actually said, it's a beautiful campus, but there's plenty of room.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
there's
That's a
a
good
lot.
thing.
And,
Years
over
ago,
the past
they
few
had
years,
the foresight.
yeah, in the
to
past
do
few
that.
years, you have things like the football team. There's a lot of those infrastructure pieces that are in place. So I really think it's, for a lot of people, Westland has always sort of been Westland, and then there's everything else.
Yeah.
I think you're going to start to see it
I
become
went to
more part
Wesleyan,
of the community.
and it was that college out on the highway.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, you did go to Westland.
Yes.
Well,
Battle of Bishop.
now the other thing I'm going to mention is the Northern Connector, or as we used to laughingly call it, the Forts Colony Harris Teeter Expressway, because and this is what people talked about behind the scenes, and this is honestly admitted, when they built Forts Colony as this major community, there weren't enough amenities immediately available. So one of the reasons the connector, we assume, and you know how dangerous assumptions are, but one of the reasons was so people could go to Harris Teeter and get their sushi and all their nice things from a better supermarket. That's not the only reason, but that's what we joke about it behind the
Right.
scenes. But one of the promises with the Northern Connector was that eventually it will become a corridor of commerce. And so I predict this year is the year that you start to see some ground being broken out, whether it's on the Bienvenue corner or whether it's closer to Westland or something like that. I think you will start
I
seeing
absolutely
some
agree.
commercial
Certainly,
development
yeah.
up there.
And people can admit it or they cannot admit it, but there was a lot of controversy when it became the Tom Betts Highway, when it was built. Do we need this? Do we need this? But now that it's built,
It's one
You can-
exit off of 95.
it's unbelievable
I mean,
how fast
well-
you can get on Winstead Avenue
Yeah.
and zip
And-
to
and I
use it all the
Wesleyan
time.
College
And-
or 301
Yeah,
or
and now that
It is
Winstead,
nice.
now that the
It
new road
is.
is done,
Oh, yeah.
it is one straight shot all the way up to Sunset.
You can
So-
get from 301 Westland to Winstead Avenue in 4 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems longer sometimes, but it's really darn quick.
oh yeah.
What we do need to
It's
mention,
nice.
though, one of the big things that's happened over the past few weeks that I think is not just this year, but going forward is going to be a big boost for our area. The new designation of US 64 to Interstate 495.
Oh, yes.
495.
You know,
Yeah.
that alone will put
more recognition on Rocky Mount, as in we will not just be a highway and an interstate. It'll be two interstates meet here.
Absolutely.
And that is critical to economic development. That'll be critical to Carolina Gateways as they market this area for new commercial development, because logistics is the backbone of Rocky Mount. I think we all can say that when we have the railway, we have I-95 and 64, 495. But we have a lot of businesses, whether it's the McLeans and the MBMs or the Hospiras that rely on that network of roads, that's an opportunity for new business to come here and take advantage of the resources we have.
And looking at the roads too, obviously there's still some projects being done. I predict we're going to get a light on the roundabout by the end of the year.
I say we are, because I'm calling Gus personally.
They need on the
We need a light on
when there's
that
no light
roundabout.
Again, we could talk about this in a whole other show, but especially people who don't know, they come up and from the horizon you don't see the roundabout.
Oh, it's kind of scary at night.
You don't
You
see
don't
it.
know.
You're right. And it literally takes an act of Congress to get a light put up on a roundabout.
It does.
Or a state congressman.
But there's also the road construction on Hunter Hill Country Club that's still going on. Obviously, there's still going to be people that are talking about that. I think you're going to see some changes if you look over at the food line there. I think they're going to have to make some changes to the median structure, because let's face it, if you've been used to getting in and out of that place a certain way, it's completely different now.
Oh, it's
and
painful.
it's hurting some of those businesses.
Well, they've already put up those plastic cones, and they've already been knocked down. And the Country Club Jeffries Road interchange, it'll start on it probably at the end of this year. For those who don't know, they're going to make Country Club connect to Jeffries Road. Yeah. So if you're going from the Pizza Inn and you want to go to the mall or you want to go to Walmart, it'll be one continuous road now. It won't be a hard turn at Jeffries. And so there's going to be some road restructuring and things in there. My issue with all that is those don't necessarily bring economic development. The Northern Connector, whether we liked it or not, was built where there was nothing else.
Right.
So that opens up land, farmland, that kind of thing for new commerce. This is an existing structure area, and I don't know that any new business will benefit from that.
Talking about infrastructure and changing of the business, one thing we can look at, and I'm trying to get to it because we're starting to run out of time here, in Wilson and in Rocky Mount, there's been some major shakeups in the hospital healthcare systems that we have.
That's on my prediction list.
I think we should talk about it a little bit, because it's gonna be a big difference for both Wilson Medical and Nash General.
Yeah, Wilson has partnered up with Duke University Medical, not Duke Medical, not Duke University.
And they just finalized it.
Only 10% of it is Duke University.
But it's a benefit and a curse, maybe, depending on how you look at it. The benefit is, obviously, you get access to Duke's world-renowned resources. If you need a consultation, if you need the specialization, you can be directly referred from Wilson right to Duke. In Rocky Mount, we have Nash Healthcare is partnered with UNC. You get those same benefits. Officially, the CEO of Nash Healthcare, Larry Tuning, is now an employee of UNC Health Systems.
Right.
That's correct.
The rest of the folks are not yet. My prediction is we will see a slow transition over time to Nash Healthcare becoming much more of a UNC property. And my long-term prediction, and this isn't just Nash Healthcare, and some people don't like me being negative, but this is a prediction, and unfortunately I see what's there. And my prediction is, not right away, but eventually in 2014, unemployment in the Twin Counties will reach another plateau as the Nash Healthcare partnership with UNC has some effects. It may not be massive layoffs, I don't mean in that regard, but I feel like it will affect jobs at the hospital. And the MBM McLean merger eventually finalizes, and then McLean takes over MBM. I don't think jobs are going to be laid off en masse, but I do think there's going to be real estate. There are a bunch of warehouses and a bunch of facilities that MBM owns. Right. McLean has one giant facility. I don't know that they need all of that square footage. I think there will be some consolidation.
And there very well may be.
So.
And that, a lot of times,
which
that's
is
bottom
normal.
line.
That's normal, but it will affect the local economy and maybe some jobs.
Yeah,
Right.
And I think with the hospital, the best way to explain it is that Nash General, Wilson Med, they've been independent for years. They've been private. Right. What they've done is basically it's a way for them to help lower their operating costs. They're expanding their economies of scope so that they can, if they're buying a machine, they can go through UNC.
Well, the healthcare law has just put them at such a disadvantage. They're losing money for the first time in years. So they admit they have to have these partnerships.
And that was something we talked about last year.
Larry Tuning, CEO of Nash Healthcare, came out and he said that he thinks that the new healthcare law is going to have negative effects on what they're able to do. And yeah, he didn't come right out and say it, but it's going to affect jobs.
Wake Medfire, their CEO, because of it. I mean, it's not just the losing the money, but that was a big part of it.
Right.
So it's affecting healthcare, whether it's just the jobs, whether it's the healthcare system. But the other positive thing for Nash Healthcare is they're going to open their emergency care center and pediatrics care center soon, within
And
the
it's
next 30
phenomenal.
days.
Now, what a great
Yes.
addition. I mean,
Yeah.
it's great.
Pediatric emergency
You
room
have a
and the
pediatric
heart.
emergency
Yeah.
room,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah,
really
that
neat.
is
And the heart
phenomenal.
center will continue on. So.
And then they're talking about a new women's center as well, and they've just redone the women's floor, but they're talking about bringing a much better remodeled women's center. But that emergency care center is phenomenal.
It is.
Yeah,
It
it is
really
very nice,
is.
very
And then the fact that the community was a big part of it. This hospital didn't do it by themselves. A lot of private businesses, a lot of people out there who have influenced other people, and we were able to make this thing happen as quickly as it did. Because the original plans were to take 10 years. They got this thing done in 3.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, transition a little bit from hospital, just at our local economy a little bit. You look at places, you look in Wilson, some new restaurants open, some new businesses open. You look in Rocky Mountain, we have a couple of new restaurants open, a new shopping center that opened. Think of a place like Dunham Sports, one open in Wilson, one open in Rocky Mountain. There's some growth on the horizon.
It is.
Is it something that we should be optimistic about? Is it slow? Can we expect more of that this year? Or, Clint, you talked a little bit about unemployment. Could we expect maybe a decline?
I was at a business today, and I had somebody I hadn't seen in a few months ask me, when are we getting a Moe's? When are we getting a Starbucks? When are we going to get those things here? And I had to, Buffalo Wild Wings, it was asked, when are we going to get those in Rocky Mount? And I can honestly say, I don't know. Buffalo Wild Wings came here, did a site survey in the area, and said Rocky Mount doesn't fit our current pattern. There's one in Wilson, and people from Rocky Mount go to Wilson, so why do we need to put one in Rocky Mount?
To your point, I think it shows that there's opportunities here. There's a place that opened in Wilson,
Brewmasters, yeah.
that has just, I think,
Taken off.
exceeded everybody's
And
expectations.
he's going to have to he's going to have to expand or move already.
And so there's pieces of the market locally that there's needs. You talk about a Buffalo Wild Wings. Well, why does a Buffalo Wild Wings have to move here? If you're an entrepreneur, there's opportunity there.
Absolutely.
You open a wing place and make it a great place. A burrito place. I mean, open something like that.
Well, I predict we'll get 3 new restaurants at least this year.
In Rocky Mount or Tri-County?
I'd say Rocky Mount. I think we'll get 3 new restaurants in Rocky Mount. I don't know what they are, but look, we got Lou's, we got Pizza Hut, and we got Dunkin' Donuts, all in one,
Well,
all in one
I mean,
suite.
the Prime Smokehouse downtown opened up as well. I mean, there's some other businesses.
So I think we'll get 3 more this year.
I feel like if we talk about the business, though, they had tenants for that space before they even
Broke
basically
ground.
broke ground.
Which
Right.
was good
Done,
business
which
planning.
Which is good business. It's not build it and let's hope people come down here.
Right.
There was no, and I know I'm going to get some flack over this, but there was no government grants or anything.
There's no subsidization.
Subsidization.
No one came in and put
Subsidies.
in the
Right.
sprinkler system in.
It was, anyway, it was business is my point. And what happens with business is bottom line. If it doesn't happen, it goes out.
Right.
It doesn't get propped up by your tax dollars and yours and my tax dollars don't do it.
Right.
And that's why I have a problem with the government getting into business with the
Right.
like you said, how it just blows my mind that they're going to try to open up a facility without an anchor tenant. We even talked about maybe a mega church or something.
Yeah.
Somebody come in there.
Something.
You've
Right.
got to, like you said, you've got PNC. Okay, there's 3 right. PNC has the naming rights, so they pay bukus, and then you have the Hurricanes as well as a college, North Carolina State,
Right.
and they still
Have many other events and things that
they,
go on
they
inside
have
there.
other things going on all the time, but they have to do a lot of things just to break even.
Just to
Yeah,
break even.
And like I
absolutely.
said, go back to the Crown Coliseum in Fayetteville. They had a perfectly, in my opinion, it was older,
Yeah.
had a perfectly good facility. I played music over there. Elvis Presley played in that building, okay? But no, we need a new one.
Yeah.
It fell flat on their feet.
Yeah.
Right.
They didn't have an anchor tenant. They had a minor league hockey team?
Yeah.
That'll go over
That-
Rocky
yeah.
Mount. That's what we need.
Right.
Rocky Mount
We had a
Railroad.
caller call in and say that hockey would
Really?
be great, Rocky Mount.
It might.
Well, I certainly think that's going to be the big issue
Or
going
curling.
forward for our area. I mean, it's going to be a big thing. We've
A
got
curling.
1 minute left.
Oh, 1 minute.
Last minute song.
I've got
Oh, wow.
some wild predictions, so go
Oh,
ahead.
boy.
Well, okay. As we said, we will have an event center. I think we will get 3. I think we'll get, I'm being positive, 3 new restaurants. I'll let you go, Andrew.
Okay.
'Cause
I
a
would.
lot of it's redundant.
I'm not going to say the name, but I would say we might hear something about chicken in our area once more this year. I think you're going to hear a little something
In a
about
different way.
In a different
In
way.
a different way. It'll be
But,
a twist on the chicken.
Chicken, maybe.
Chicken twisters.
Back in town.
Back in town. A couple of quick things I'm going to rattle off. I think the federal government's going to go after fast food and diets on a more national level, like Bloomberg did in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
I
I
think
definitely agree with
Christianity
that.
will continue to fall under fire under the national media, while other religions are given a pass. Those are some of my big ones. I think interest rates will continue to be a problem, so consumers will have problems getting loans. Businesses may have a better shot this year because some more risks will be available to them because of some slightly higher interest rates. And I think the buzzword for 2014 for scams, things along the lines of the Geico and Vonage type thing, it's going to be security. Because of all the NSA, Snowden stuff, because of the Target snafus, you're going to see a lot more. There's already some out there.
Yeah.
But I think you're going to see 10 times as much effort from businesses trying to sell security plans, and you're going to see some scams that go along with that.
Tim?
I think that although Obamacare won't be implemented, I think that there's going to be people taking advantage of. They're going to try to represent themselves as the government, and they're talking about scams. They're going to scam people out of their money because there's a fear factor there. I've got to sign up. I have to have insurance. Oh, I'll take care of you. Well, the only way they're going to, so no one wins. It's not Affordable Care Act, so that loses. And then people are losing their money. So that's where I stand on that.
On an already burdened middle class. As
Exactly.
Sandra started the show with.
Or working poor.
Real
You
quick,
know.
sports prediction. I think Seattle will probably end up winning the Super Bowl. I don't want them to, but I think they probably will.
I was, okay, I was getting ready to say the same thing.
I don't want them to, but
I think
will.
it's Seattle's year.
And World Cup.
Brazil.
Brazil.
It's there.
Winter Olympics.
Lindsey Vonn. Oh, wait a minute.
Hockey.
She's
Who
out.
wins the hockey? Canada.
You know what? Canada, but you know what? I think Russia is going to be coming back strong again.
I think
or
Finland's going
Sweden.
to surprise some folks, too.
Finland?
So-
I think Sweden will be there, too.
Well, folks, you've heard it here first on Tri-County Live, presented by Davenport Auto Park. We've made it clear what we think.
We're on the record, so now we're accountable.
We're on the record. We're now accountable. We would love to hear what you think. The best thing you can do is go over to our Facebook, drop us a line there, tell us what you think, and tell us if we're right, if we're wrong, or if you think we are somewhere in the middle. We'd love to hear from you. We know we're going to get some things wrong, but we hope that we're able to bring some things, maybe bring some issues to light that you maybe were not aware of. But we appreciate you tuning in tonight, and we hope that you keep it tuned in to WHIG TV all day, every day. And be sure you tune in tomorrow morning for the Thursday edition of the Don Bullock Chevrolet Morning Show with Sandra and Lisa.
That's right.
But for Sandra, Tim, Clint, I'm Andrew, and thanks for tuning in to Tri-County Live. We will see you next time.